The OPO yield calculator was created by SRTR to allow the OPO community to monitor their donor yield against expected yield based on the national experience. This tool provides a way to estimate expected yield for a given donor for each organ. The yield calculator is found on the SRTR Secure website. You will need to access the SRTR Secure site to download the OPO calculator. You will find the most current calculator application on your current release page. Scroll down to the bottom of the page to the OPO Tools section. You are looking for the OPO Yield Calculator application. Click Download. Currently, this application is only compatible with PCs. Mac products are not supported. You will also need the donor level datasheet for donor yield found on this page as well. The updated version is released at the same time as the current calculator version. The application packet will download a zip file to the bottom left of your browser window. Make sure you are downloading the newest version of the calculator. That should be compatible with the newest datasheet also posted on this page. You may see this screen. If so, click More Info. Then click on Run Anyway, since this application is secure. A Windows wizard will start up. Click Next. On this screen, you can leave the default location if you are installing it on your own computer or laptop. However, if you are loading onto a shared location, such as a network, you will want to change the location folder and then select Everyone. Click Next again and the calculator will install. The calculator creates and stores data in a folder called OPO Yield Calculator in your My Documents folder on your hard drive. Inside the OPO Yield Calculator file will be two files, input.txt and saveloc.txt. When you click Download, a CSV file will load to the bottom left of your browser screen. Open the file by clicking on it. And then save the file to the same folder where you find the calculator files, the OPO Yield Calculator folder. Now you're ready to import the data from the donor level datasheet. First, open the calculator. If you need to easily find that calculator, simply type OPO in the search bar on your taskbar. Then click on the Pin to Taskbar option. This adds the app shortcut to your taskbar so you can easily access it anytime. Click on the app icon to open it. Before beginning any importing or entering of data, click on the Instructions button to the right for specific guidance on what data should be entered. The instructions include detailed guidance as to what each data field means and what should be entered. The tool's main screen displays a summary table which summarizes the information currently entered into this tool. To import the donor level data into the system, click the Import Data button. This will open a window for the OPO Yield Calculator file. There you will find the donor level data CSV file that you would have already downloaded from the SRTR Secure site. Select that file to import it. The tool's main screen should now display data in the summary table, which summarizes the information currently entered into the tool. The summary table on the main screen displays two of the three MPSC review criteria: observed yield per 100 donors minus expected yield per 100 donors, and observed divided by expected. The third MPSC criteria, two-sided p-value less than 0.05, is not displayed in this tool because the process used to determine the p-value cannot be programmed into the tool. The expected yield estimates are approximate. However, the tool should provide the OPO with general information about its performance. In this context, donor is defined as any person from whom at least one organ was recovered for the purpose of transplant, but not necessarily transplanted. And yield is defined as any organ that was eventually transplanted, not just recovered for transplant. Expected yields are given for kidneys, lungs, hearts, livers, pancreata, and intestines. For hearts, livers, pancreata, lungs, and intestines, the expected yield ranges from 0 to 1. For example, if the expected liver yield is 0.7, a similar donor would be expected to yield a transplanted liver 7 out of 10 times. Lung yield is modeled as the probability of yielding at least one lung for transplant. Therefore, expected lung yield ranges from 0 to 1 rather than 0 to 2. For kidneys, the expected yield ranges from 0 to 2. The total expected organ yield is then provided as the sum of the organ-specific expected yields and ranges from 0 to 7. In order to determine the expected yield from an OPO's donors, risk adjustment models are developed. They are refit every 6 months based on the national data in a 2-year cohort. These same yield models are used in Table C3 and Figure C8 of the OPO-specific reports. If you're curious about what data is included in the calculator, you can find more information by reading about the tables C3 and Figure C8 in the OPO technical methods. That documentation can be found here under About the Data. On the navigation bar, select Analytic Methods, PSRs and OSRs from the drop-down. Then select the link to the Analytic Methods OPO-specific reports, OSRs. The models behind the yield metrics in the calculator are also found on the srtr.org website. You can find the predictors for the calculator in the Yield Predictors tab. You can find the coefficients or values for each predictor in the Model Coefficients tab. The Model Elements plots help you visualize how the predictors or elements will affect yield. Those with advanced statistical knowledge can find more information here to help them understand how SRTR derives the yield. To find the risk models for yield, hover over the Reports and Tools option on the navigation bar and select Deceased Donor Yield from the drop-down. Some donor conditions are too rare to allow for inclusion in the full risk adjustment model. For donors with rare conditions, SRTR uses the percentage of donors nationally who successfully yielded an organ for transplant. The risk adjustment model documentation on the SRTR website lists the rare conditions for each organ and the estimated yield. The tool's main screen should display data you previously imported into the summary table. You can enter additional and new donors into the system to add to your list of donors. Click Open the Calculator button. This will open the data entry screen, allowing you to enter new donors. This tool is meant to provide OPOs with a general understanding of how they are performing. This will not necessarily match the final criteria that appear in the OPO-specific reports published on the SRTR website or the final data reviewed by OPTN's Membership and Professional Standards Committee, because the models used to determine the expected yields will be reevaluated during each 6-month reporting cycle. The models used in this calculator may not match those used in the final evaluation. The tool should not be used to determine potential yield from a prospective donor. The tool was developed by considering only donors for whom the decision was already made to procure at least one organ for the purpose of transplant. Therefore, it is inappropriate to use the tool to aid decision-making regarding which donors should be considered for transplant. For the tool to estimate expected organ yield, information about the donor must be entered into this screen manually. Items in red are required to perform the calculation. Items not in red are used in the calculation, but the condition is assumed not to be met unless indicated otherwise. Data entry sections are grouped into 5 general categories: donor info, clinical information, biopsy results, lifestyle factors, and transplanted organs. Once the donor information has been entered, click Calculate to display the expected organ yield for that donor. For example, an expected liver yield of 0.75 would indicate that 100 donors would be expected to yield a transplanted liver 75 times. You can then save the donor information so you can keep a running record of your OPO's observed and expected organ yield. Click the Save Record button to save the current donor's information. The information is then used to estimate the observed and expected summary data shown on the calculator's main screen. Saved donors can be manually edited or cleared as needed by clicking on the View Records button on the main screen. Once you've entered all the donor data, whether by importing, manual entry, or both, you want to save the dataset. To export the data that you've entered in the calculator, you simply have to click the Export Data button and pick the folder you wish to save in. It will create 2 files, OPO Yield Calculator Exported Data.csv and OPO Yield Calculator Summary Data.csv. The summary data contains the numbers on the main screen, like the O/E stats. The exported data contains all the information from the input, i.e. input date and all of your original fields, in addition to yield per organ and total yield. This is used for data processing, reporting, and any other steps where you would want to have yields for a specific donor. If you want the input to be saved somewhere other than My Documents, like on the network or some other folder you're working in, you can change the save location. Clicking the Save Location button lets you pick a folder where the file will be saved. Editing the saveloc.txt file will let you specify a new file name. For the sake of time, we will not cover the advanced option of using command prompts, but we would like to point out that there are instructions on how to do this in the app. As noted previously, by default, the calculator creates and stores data in a folder called OPO Yield Calculator in your My Documents folder on your hard drive. Inside are two files, saveloc.txt and input.txt. Saveloc.txt contains the file path for the input that the calculator will look for. If it is missing or removed, the calculator will default to the input.txt file in OPO Yield Calculator. Input.txt contains all the data entered into the calculator in a specific format. Both of these files can be edited, renamed, or deleted if necessary. A reason you may want to rename the input.txt file is when you want to create subsets of donors. For instance, donors from a specific date range, or only donors that yielded kidneys, or donors with a specific characteristics, such as race. But if you create subsets, make sure your subset files are named something different than input.txt. If the input.txt file is missing, then the application will create an input.txt file when it tries to save the record. The import file can be saved anywhere. If you get an error like this upon trying to import a file, the application is having a problem reading something in the file. For instance, this might happen if a date is formatted wrong or a value is the wrong type, like a number instead of text. A wrong input error will trigger when a number of fields is wrong. Make sure the CSV file you are importing is the correct version for the calculator. Any missing column or columns in the wrong order will cause the application to think you are importing the wrong file. An algorithm error is somewhat rare, but happens when the algorithm files don't match the version. It would happen if you installed a calculator version previously and just copied over the new executable instead of running the installer. For more specific information on how to use these tools and resources, contact an SRTR representative at srtr@srtr.org.